So let me introduce our first speaker. He's certainly no stranger to this policy council and is very active in the chamber. That's Joaquin Lippincott. I could probably speak 10 minutes about Joaquin, but I'm going to give you just a couple of highlights. He is CEO and founder of Metal Toad. He's also the chair of the LA Chamber of Bixel Exchange Advisory Council. Joaquin has over 20 years of experience in the technical area, helping businesses to move into the cloud. He's a frequent speaker on the future of technology, ranging from IoT to machine learning and other topics. As I mentioned, CEO and founder of Metal Toad, an AWS advanced Joaquin, you could tell us about that. Number one, actually, and I love this about your bio, your number one job is to make sure the right people are in the room. And so I'd like to think that, Joaquin, we have the right people in the room right now. And why don't you share with us some of the initiatives underway that you're leading to prepare the next generation for emerging tech jobs and innovation in the economy. Joaquin.
Great. Thank you so much for the intro, Mike. I'm sure since you can talk 10 minutes about me, you can talk 10 minutes about any subject and make it interesting. I'm going to go ahead and dive into this presentation here. Hello to all of you that I know. Hopefully this will be maybe just a little bit controversial. This is a topic I'm very passionate about. And I'm excited to see what this body can actually do to help move things forward. So deconstructing the tech ivory tower. I made the mistake of creating a slide for myself. We've already been familiar with myself. One of the things I've been an advocate for is education. I think there's a huge crossover between education and tech. So to start with, digitally distributed software is an industry that has been blessed with no capital costs and no time lost in transit. And I think it's really important for the backdrop to understand the opportunity that exists. So there is no harvest to wait for, there is no real estate to buy, there is no machinery to buy, there's no packaging to create, and there's no time lost in transit, which means the money that comes into digitally distributed software, first of all, comes in globally and is distributed only to two places. It's either workers or business owners. So this economic engine is truly differentiated. It is unlike anything that humanity has ever seen, and we are still dealing with the implications of that. For all intents and purposes, there are no practical limits to what a tech workforce can be paid, which creates both opportunities and also problems. And just as a comparator, I think some of you may be familiar with this. In 1979, General Motors generated $11 billion. This is inflation adjusted to 2012 with 840,000 workers. In 2012, Google earned $14 billion with 89,000 workers, which on its face is actually pretty impressive. But fast forward to 2019, Google actually earned $126 billion with only 118,000 workers. So that's 100 times more revenue per worker, or to reframe it and look at it a different way, that is 100x fewer workers per dollar. So for top-level talent with the right experience, salaries of over $1 million per year at companies like Google are not unheard of. And across the board, for those who make it into tech, even average salary gains over time are significant. So this is a chart, this is actually worldwide, and you can see at the very start, pretty low in terms of overarching income. This is the median salary. So around 20-some thousand, 30,000. When you look in the US, if somebody's graduating with a computer science degree, that's often in the 60 plus range. But you can see over time, as people increase their overall tenure and experience, there's dramatic increases in terms of the amount of earnings. And this is a fairly unusual curve, which provides some real significant opportunities. But the problem right now is there's little to no competition for entry-level talent in tech. So if you're in, you're in, and if you're out, you're out. So why is that? Why are we not competing for entry-level talent? And it actually boils back to a 2009 slideshow presentation that was created that actually changed tech forever. And to those who might perhaps scoff at this actually being this influential, this is what Sheryl Sandberg said about the slideshow. She said, "It may have been the most important document to ever come out of the Valley." It has had 19 million views and has set the North Star culturally for countless number of tech startups. It was a presentation given by CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, and it was called Netflix Culture, Freedom, and Responsibility. So this is the actual screenshot of this. If you want, you can go on to slideshare.net. You can take a look. I'll go ahead and share this out. Hopefully we'll be able to share the presentation with those who are interested. But these are a few excerpts, and it is a pretty extensive slideshow. But I think the important parts right here in terms of the impact for entry-level workers, essentially it boils down to, as Reed Hastings theorized, that as businesses grow in size, that the complexity increases. He also said that as they grow in size, the percentage of high performance employees is reduced, and so chaos emerges. And so to fight against that chaos, most businesses introduce process. However, at Netflix and forevermore in the tech industry, people started focusing on quote unquote the right people. So instead of a cultural of process adherence, they had a culture of creativity, self-discipline, responsibility, and freedom, which sounds great on its surface. It was also fairly ruthless in the way that it dealt with people who performed adequately. Adequate performance, to quote Reed, gets a generous severance package. And so this has set the tone for tech industry for the past decade. And so what's the problem with this? A lack of process and a demand for, quote, top performers has led to almost no entry-level opportunities for over a decade. And that doesn't mean no opportunities. If you are a graduate from the computer science program of Stanford or Berkeley or Harvard, you're actually doing pretty well. In just the past couple of years, entry-level salaries for top school CS graduates has increased from around 80,000 to 140,000 in just a few years. So that's starting salary for this group. Some of the next tier students, and this is far and away not all of the computer science graduates, but many have seen increases, modest by comparison increases from 60,000 to around 80,000. This is something that I have seen in my company in terms of where people's salary expectations have been. So in 2016, the median income for somebody with a computer science degree was over $100,000. And then that same year, the median income for all occupations was $37,000. So you have this huge disparity that is cropping up. And unfortunately, in 2015, only 3% or so of all bachelor graduates were in computer science. There's an excellent article I'll be sharing out in the notes that actually talks about some of the conversation about why this might be potentially. But the net is there are fewer and fewer amazing opportunities going to a smaller group of people. So the question now is, what can we do? And I want to turn to the medical industry. And this may not seem like there are exact parallels right away, but I think everybody on this call would agree that nobody wants a doctor with 0 years of experience, except maybe this guy. I looked up doctors and he's super cute. So maybe he would be okay for a doctor. But in the same way that nobody wants a doctor with no experience, no one wants a programmer with no experience. So enter the medical residency program. And this was put together by two gentlemen, Sir William Osler and William Stewart Halstead, back in the late 19th century. And by the time, at this point, it's actually hard to imagine what the medical industry might look like without the residency program to gestate and help to support medical graduates that are interested in becoming doctors. So what would medicine look like without that program? I postulate it would be chaos, and you would see huge increases in wealth in a very, very small group, which parallels very closely to what we've seen in the tech industry. So what we want to do is to create an on-ramp to the ivory tower. I thought this was an interesting graph. This is actually a truck off-road, but we can just imagine the ivory tower up at the top, and I think that initially it will be, we'll be working to put together a model that works, and it may be something that we'll have to work at for a while. So after 2 to 3 years, anecdotally speaking, what I have seen is that the market will naturally absorb candidates as their value increases. So really is in that 2 to 3 years of someone's initial experience that they really do need the support of industry to create opportunities. And so I venture that we must be bold and creative to create inroads for those who are aligned with tech. People who want in should be able to get into the tech industry, and it should not require a degree from Stanford or Berkeley. I also believe that government and educational institutions cannot solve this on their own. This is fundamental. I think that education is critically important. I think that government support is also critically important, but I believe that employers must come together to create entry-level jobs that integrate their surrounding communities. And that to me is incredibly important as well, because what we have seen in cities like San Francisco or like Seattle or like Portland, Oregon, is massive gentrification that has resulted from high-paying jobs that simply are not available for the surrounding communities. So these jobs must be designed to allow people to learn, and critically, they must also be financially viable. Why? Because profitable equals sustainable. If we try too hard to create jobs that are, the good thing or the right thing to do, those jobs get cut. CFOs come in, and in particular in downturns, those jobs are considered nice to haves. But if we can create a model for entry-level employees where there is profit generated for the business, even a small margin, they do create a sustainable ecosystem. So then the question really is, why now? So nationally, unemployment is over 11%. And importantly, tech provides a relatively safe harbor. In Los Angeles County, again, talking about our local ecosystem, unemployment is over 20%. That is incredibly high. Enter the Bixel Exchange. So I hope that everybody here is familiar with the work of the Bixel Exchange. We're going to talk certainly more about it. But the Bixel Exchange has a body called the Advisory Council, which consists of a number of the people on this call, and I think that there's an opportunity to grow it larger. It is a broad cross-section of industry, and the opportunity is for advocacy, participation, and recognition. Advocacy first, it's about awareness and advocating for this approach to creating entry-level jobs. Participation, the opportunity to actually create some of these jobs, and then recognition. And this is really where the incubation by the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce becomes so important, and the integration of government becomes important, because any job is better than no job. Bad jobs are better than no jobs. Certainly good jobs are better than bad jobs, but if we can create any sort of FOMO or fear of missing out and create a broader opportunity, I'm all for that. So now is the time for us to help us use our influence to help others. Thank you. Here's the sources, and I'm going to go ahead and stop my share and turn it back over.
Joaquin, thanks so much